This is Sky News Today with Wilfred Frost. It's 10 o'clock. Your headlines. Pitching himself as the man to change the country, the Prime Minister gears up for one of the biggest speeches of his premiership. Rishi Sunak to address the HS2 controversy. He's expected to scrap the northern leg in return for a promise of billions for other road and rail projects.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Making history, the first Speaker of the House of Representatives to be ousted from office says he'll not run again. Venice coach crash, a major investigation after 21 people die when a bus plunges off a flyover.
From Oakland to Sacktown, the Bay Area and back down. Cali is where they put their mag down.
Speaking to Sky News, Tupac Shakur's brother describes the moment he was told a man was charged with the rapper's murder almost 3 decades ago.
It was a what? It was a really? It was a wow? 27 years is a long time.
Delving back into the past, a new documentary that promises fresh insights into the lives of David and Victoria Beckham. A very good morning to you. The countdown is on for the Prime Minister's big speech today as Rishi Sunak prepares to address a party conference that's been dominated by HS2. He'll take to the stage just after 11:40 this morning in Manchester, the city right at the heart of the row over the future of high-speed rail. Mayors in the north are furious, reacting to this morning's news that the PM is likely to effectively scrap the northern leg of the track. Well, in a moment, we'll speak to our chief North of England correspondent, Greg Milam, with the details of which parts might be scrapped. But first, let's go to the conference and our deputy political editor, Sam Coates. Sam, so we are ultimately expecting him to scrap the northern leg of this rail network today?
Welcome back to Manchester. Yes, Wilf, that's right. Look, we've been reporting on Sky News since 6:30 on Sunday night that this announcement was going to be very likely to be made in the conference by Rishi Sunak, the scrapping of the high-speed rail link from Birmingham to Manchester. What we expect, he'll say, as first reported by Sophie Ridge last night, is that trains will go on high-speed rail all the way to Birmingham, but then we'll switch onto the existing rail track all the way to Manchester, which means that they'll go at a slower speed and there won't be the additional capacity. We also expect that line to terminate at Euston, not that West London hub called Old Oak Common, which is near Ealing. So that's the outline of the decision on HS2. Now, the consequence of that is that Rishi Sunak will say he has a lot of money to spend by not building the high-speed line. And a key part of his announcement will be to build a whole series of other different rail projects, bus projects, road projects, spending about 30 to 35 billion pounds. So it's a bit weird. You've got the Conservative Prime Minister saying that we need a smaller state, but we're going to spend tens of billions in order to save money. That's at the heart of the announcement.
So let's go to Greg now. And Greg, just break down for us the parts of this rail that we are now expecting to be scrapped relative to what had been promised previously, and I guess how that has gone down in the eyes of various leaders from different parts of the north of England.
Yeah, not well. In summary, the bit from London to Birmingham, as Sam was saying there, goes on as planned. It is that leg from Birmingham through Crewe up to Manchester that won't be HS. The trains will run, but it won't be high speed, and that, of course, is the critical part, the critical selling point of this whole project. The trains will run on existing lines. There are issues with capacity already on those lines, and there are those who understand the rail business who say that simply isn't sustainable, that high-speed rail can work using the existing infrastructure. The trade-off, we understand, will be, as Sam was saying, this money spent on other improvements to the rail network and other parts of the transport network as well. Of course, there's Northern Powerhouse Rail, this line that was supposed to go east-west and be HS3 effectively. The talk is that could still go ahead, but the problem is a lot of it, a big section between Manchester and Manchester Airport was due to run on HS2 lines, and if they're not built, that leaves a pretty big gap. So they're upset here, they're frustrated, they've had weeks to get used to this. We knew this was coming, people here expected that it was coming. It also means they don't really believe that whatever promises about infrastructure spending are made today will be followed through any more than HS2 has been followed through on. And among those most angry, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham.
Why do the Conservative Party think they can promise a new line across the north, not in one manifesto, not two, but three of their last manifestos, and then just pull it in this way? I've obviously got to wait to see the detail of what they announce later, but I am very worried now that new line across the north of England, which most people would say is one of the highest, if not the highest, transport priority in the country, now can't happen probably in my lifetime. And honestly, I find that kind of profoundly depressing and wrong, because it just means the generations coming after me will be saddled with those long, disrupted, crowded journeys across the Pennines.
And that's a frustration shared by other mayors in the north and the public as well. They've been promised the economic benefits for so long of HS2, and now they see those being taken away. And again, the prospect of whatever comes in its place may not be enough and may not even be delivered. There is a real frustration here today, even though they expected this announcement.
Greg, thanks so much for that. And just want to bring Sam back in, because Sky News does understand, Sam, perhaps this is your reporting, by the way, that Rishi Sunak is chairing a meeting of his cabinet now, whether that was still needed or not, to rubber stamp this decision, which we're expecting in his speech, I guess, is by the by at this stage. Sam, just talking a little bit more about this. If he does then promise a lot of spending for other regional transport projects in the north, could that in fact go down better than we're all expecting? Could this in fact be a very well thought through strategic plan? And I guess I'm just thinking elements of when they scrapped the housing pledge, and that sort of helped rural England more than it did cities. This could also play out the same way, and he might just be catering to where he's most likely to win seats.
Maybe. Look, I think the problem here is that you have successive governments making different decisions and undoing the decisions of previous governments. And all of that just means that nothing ever happens. Maybe there will be a replacement package that actually in 10, 15 or 20 years comes to fruition. But the track record isn't good. So I think what's exhausting people is the chopping and changing, the starting and stopping, the fact that no plan is ever taken to completion, because there's no plan that's universally popular. There's no plan that almost ever is on budget, and it's always subject to this criticism. And so, you know, who knows whether what Rishi Sunak announces today will actually ever happen itself, because you just look at the track record and do wonder. And I think that's one of the sort of political, you know, dynamics that's going on. That's what people will be talking about around that cabinet meeting, which again we've been predicting since 6:30 on Sunday night would take place. And I think that, you know, more broadly, what's going on here is that Rishi Sunak managed to lose control of the public conversation, both around HS2 and really, frankly, the public conversation around this conference. So in a couple of hours, when he hits the stage, he's got to deliver the speech of his life. It's being talked up by his aides, who say that there's a lot in it. But in order to cut through the noise, reintroduce himself to the British public, make an impact, and to drown out what could be the resignation of a Tory mayor minutes after he sits down again, he needs to do something incredibly special. That requires the Prime Minister to show us a gear that, bluntly, we haven't seen yet. Can he do it?
Well, we will look forward to that and all of the coverage throughout the afternoon in reaction to it. And it's meant to be quite a long speech, of course, about 40 minutes long. Just quickly, Sam, whilst we've got you, in terms of other big takeaways from this conference, I've seen your coverage about the fact that not so much Liz Truss was there and got such a good reception, but that Nigel Farage was. Do you think that was with the warm invitation of the Prime Minister, or is he on the sidelines in a sort of distracting and annoying way for the Prime Minister?
Look, you're right. The mortal enemy of the Conservative Party, who prompted an existential crisis back in the last decade, Nigel Farage, is here in the conference hall. He's wandering around, and there's nothing the Conservatives seemingly can do about it, because he's got a press pass. He works for a rival broadcaster. No need to name them, but he is sort of touring the floor, being mobbed by activists. What's really interesting about this conference is the activity around the edges here. There's a lot of enthusiasm for the person who they elected as Prime Minister last year, Liz Truss. Obviously, the Tory MPs decided to sling her out, but there's a lot of enthusiasm for her ideas. And there are all sorts of characters on the fringe of this conference that previously weren't really welcome at a Conservative gathering. But it feels like the kind of right flank of the Conservative Party could just be moving a little bit in the way that it did with Jeremy Corbyn, with the arrival of Momentum, and it became a bigger tent to the left when that Labour leader took over. So too, it looks like the Tory tent right now is extending. Nigel Farage here at this conference talking about what he can do to shape the Conservative Party in the future. We could be seeing something of a big, important, historic shift in the terms of trade and the centre of gravity of this party, particularly if it loses the next election and has to make big decisions about its future.
Sam Coates, thank you so much for that. And of course, we will bring you the full speech and coverage around it from the Prime Minister here on Sky News. We'll have the coverage from 11:30. He's expected on stage at some point before midday. Sophie, Sam, Beth, Ed, many more will be there live for you to cover all of that. Now, some breaking news. This no doubt will come as great news to the Prime Minister ahead of his speech, coming with some lucky timing, potentially. Our Rob Harris breaking that UK and Ireland's bid for Euro 2028 is successful because there's no remaining opposition left after Turkey has withdrawn. They had bid jointly with Italy. And let's have a look at some of the statement coming out of UEFA. They're saying that it does still need to be officially approved by the UEFA Executive Committee, but as indicated by the FA of Turkey with its submission of a request for a joint bid, that it has been withdrawn. So it does still need to be formally approved by the Executive Committee, but it seems, and that meeting is happening on the 10th of October, it says, but it does seem that the UK and Ireland will be the hosts of Euro 2028 football. No bad news, that, of course, for the Prime Minister, whether it's by his own brilliant bid or the others pulling out. No bad news, that, for the Prime Minister ahead of his big speech later. Now, switching focus across the Atlantic, for the first time in history, a US House Speaker has been removed from office following a leadership challenge from within his own party. Republican Kevin McCarthy faced the motion, which was triggered by an ally of Donald Trump, just months after securing the job, which took 15 rounds of voting in the first place. Our US correspondent James Matthews breaks it down for us.
At the seat of US political power, it was another day and another first.
Ramirez. Yes. Yay. Raskin. Yay.
They were talking about Kevin. The yeas were in support of ousting Kevin McCarthy,
Calvert.
the House Speaker, third in line to the presidency. It's the first time this has ever happened.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Congressman, will you resign?
Kevin McCarthy left the House chamber its Speaker no more. It was an extraordinary step. The now vacant seat creates a now partial paralysis at the heart of government.
I do not regret negotiating. Our government is designed to find compromise. I don't regret my efforts to build coalitions and find solutions. I was raised to solve problems, not create them. I wouldn't change a thing.
The political fight had been Republican on Republican. Hardline Conservatives in the party had been gunning for McCarthy, more so after he counted on Democrat votes to avoid a weekend government shutdown. Matt Gaetz was McCarthy's nemesis within. He was the Republican House representative who drove the vote to bring him down. Sir, you have paralysed the House of Representatives today. To whose benefit? People have called you a narcissist. People say that it's to your benefit alone. Is it to the benefit of you and to Donald Trump?
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word. He made an agreement in January regarding the way Washington would work, and he violated that agreement.
McCarthy and Gaetz have history. This was the pair in an angry exchange on the floor of the House. Gates, in the grey suit to the left, was opposing McCarthy's bid for the speakership. Compromises made amidst confrontation left McCarthy beholden to hardline Conservatives. If he didn't know it then, he does now. It is quite the scene, the politics of personality and of paralysis, as the House Speaker, one of America's most prominent and powerful politicians, is unseated. An interim Speaker has been put in place pending a permanent appointment. It is the job description that lists the politics of running a country and of party division. James Matthews, Sky News, in Washington.
Well, we are about to get a live update from Washington, but in the meantime, just worth also mentioning the impact this has had on financial markets, where interest rates have surged off the back of it, and stocks in the US did sell off fairly quickly yesterday as well. A lot of financial implications for this, which we'll discuss in a moment with our colleagues from NBC. Also, though, worth pointing out that no major legislative reforms were expected before the next general election because the Senate and the House of Representatives are in different hands already. We're going to come back to that story and discuss it a bit more later on in the show, some comms issues there with Washington. Now, a major investigation has been launched after at least 21 people, including 2 children, were killed when a coach fell 30 metres from a flyover and caught fire near Venice. The bus was understood to have been rented to take tourists from a campsite to see the famous Italian city. And now police are trying to find out what happened. Well, Sky's international correspondent John Sparks has this report for us.
The bus was barely recognisable. Wheels upturned, lying on its side after falling 30 metres from an elevated highway.
Mamma mia, disastro.
Firefighters had extinguished a blaze, but they were struggling to remove the occupants, many of whom had died.
The bus that, as you saw, collapsed. It went off the road from a height of tens of metres. It's a battery-powered electric bus, so it caught fire. They found all the people inside the bus engulfed in flames. So the scene that the firemen were presented with was really difficult, really bad.
The regional mayor called the scene apocalyptic. The vehicle, a city bus, had been hired by a local campground, and it was making its way back to the campsite in a suburb called Marghera when it plunged off this concrete overpass. The driver may have suffered from a sudden illness, say police, for there was no indication that the operator had used the brakes. Metal barriers on the side of the road had proven to be ineffective. German and Ukrainian passports were found at the scene, and consular officials have confirmed to Sky News that Ukrainian citizens were on board. The majority of those travelling on the bus likely to have been foreign nationals, holidaymakers returning from a day of sightseeing in the city of Venice and the surrounding lagoon. John Sparks, Sky News.
We have lots more still to come on Sky News today. Up next, we will be back to conference, joining some of those people in the queue to get into Rishi Sunak's speech, which of course is due to take place at about 11:40. We'll have that for you. We'll also be covering the story of a man being charged with the death of the American rapper Tupac, almost 30 years after he was shot, and the latest as David Beckham releases a new 4-part all-access documentary. It dropped this morning. We'll have the key headlines coming out of it for you. of the rapper Tupac Shakur, 27 years after he was fatally shot in Las Vegas. His brother has spoken to Sky News about why it's taken the police this long to charge someone. Our US correspondent Martha Kellner reports from Las Vegas.
For Mo Shakur, the horror of losing his brother has been brought back into focus. Tupac was rap music's brightest light when he was shot dead at the age of 25. His killing remained one of America's great unsolved crimes. Now, 27 years later, a man will appear in court today charged with his murder. It's a moment Tupac's family feared would never come.
I mean, the feeling was, it was a what? It was a really? There was a wow. 27 years is a long time. My daughter's 27. And any accountability at this point is good.
Tupac was shot at point-blank range while being driven along the Las Vegas Strip. The man arrested is Dwayne Davis, known by his street name Koiki D. He belonged to a rival gang. In recent years, he'd bragged about being in the car from which Tupac was killed.
Who shot Tupac? They keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the backseat for him.
This is the junction where Tupac was killed in September 1996. In a court just a few miles away, but more than a quarter of a century later, Dwayne Koiki D. Davis will enter a plea accused of organising the killing. Mo didn't just lose his brother, he lost a musical collaborator. If this had have been a multi-nominated Grammy artist who was at the top of his game, but a white man, do you think this would have taken 27 years to solve?
No. No. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the nature of the beast in America. I'm realistic about that.
Mo doesn't know if he'll attend Dwayne Davis's trial. He doesn't know if he trusts the police, who took so long to arrest someone for his brother's murder, when the answer seemed so obvious. Martha Kellner, Sky News, Las Vegas.
Now talk a little bit about David Beckham and Victoria Beckham's new documentary. It's dropped this morning. Lots of revelations expected in it. And Milena Veselinovic is able to join us, and she's been diving into some of the key headlines in it after it crossed just this morning. Milena. We will get back to Milena when we can, which will hopefully be before too long. But let's have a quick look at the weather now.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
The weekend looks unseasonably warm, but the next few days will be cooler with rain in the north and the west. Temperatures will be around the October average today, with a stiff breeze making it feel quite cool. Southern Britain and southern and central parts of Ireland will be mostly dry and quite sunny this afternoon, although there'll be a few showers mainly over Ireland and the west. Elsewhere, southern Scotland, Cumbria, Northumberland and northern parts of both Ireland and Northern Ireland will be fairly cloudy with outbreaks of rain, while northern and central Scotland will see rain giving away to sunshine and showers. Rain over central parts will mostly clear overnight, but Ireland and Northern Ireland will turn wet again later, while Northern England, Wales and southwest Scotland will see a few patchy outbreaks. Most other places will be fine. Tomorrow will be cloudy with rain becoming more extensive, but central, southern and eastern England will stay largely fine. The wind will strengthen from the west. Friday looks wet in the windy northwest, mostly fine elsewhere. That's your weather.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
You're watching Sky News today. We'll go live back to Manchester from the conference room floor to get the mood ahead of the Prime Minister's all-important speech.
PM to 9 p.m.
I will live in your eyes. I will try.
The family, the Christian community, friends and loved ones of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku wishes to invite friends and loved ones and all sympathizers to a one-week observation at the Numa Christian Center, 87 Beddington Lane, Croydon, postcode CR040D. The event will take place on Friday, the 6th of October, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
I will lay down.
Buses 466 and 463 ply that route. And if you want to travel on a tram, Beddington Lane is a stop for you. Also, there's going to be free parking there. For further information, please contact Evelyn on 075-5483-8421. Kojo 073-7592-8737. Or Sheila on 079-8358 1818. Come and mourn with us, even as we celebrate the lives of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku. God bless you and see you all there.
Global Real Estate Wealth Summit with Dr. Olumide Emmanuel will be happening live in October in a city of the United Kingdom. It will be an event like none other. 1 day, 8 speakers, 10 sessions. Date, Saturday 14th October 2023. Register now to qualify for the 30% discount offer. Visit www.olumideemmanuel.org/GrewUK to register or call the hotlines 074-231-55486 or 020-322-30800.
World to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Prampram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prampram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Star Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Star Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
Are you ready to
This is Star Radio UK.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Star Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr Radio
UK.
Welcome.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio. Starr Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
This is Starr Radio
UK.
And that is how I say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. I want to salute each and every one of you and welcome you to the 4th day of October, the year 2023. This is Starr Radio UK, and it is the Wednesday edition of the morning show. And today we've got a very packed program, so I'm going to crack on straight on. But let me say good morning to my colleagues, Mr. Olayomi, Koiki, and Mr. Francis Guy, my able producer there. Felix, good morning to you. Mr. Frank Davids, good morning to you. To Kojo D, good morning. Bishop Adesina, massive good morning to you. I salute you, man of God. And to Anthony Adedeji, good morning. Pastor Emmanuel Chidi. Shamsuddin, yes, good morning to you. Yesterday you were late, today you decided to be on time. Hey. Sam, I hope you are doing very, very well. Good morning to you. And then to the one and only Sir Maxwell, good morning to you. To all you wonderful people there, we salute each and every one of you. And let me put it this way, all protocol observed, welcome to the program. So those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I'm going to bring you the quote of the day, and then we'll go straight to the weather and the travel updates. We'll move on from there to look at the stories making the rounds across the globe. It's known as Global Trotting. Then after that, at 11 o'clock, we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki joining in to bring you updates from Nigeria. We'll continue from there and move on straight to some of the other stories making the rounds. At 11:40, we'll try to take you straight to Manchester, where the Conservative Party conference is taking place, and the Prime Minister will be making his big speech. So we'll be taking you there at that time. Then after that, the curtains are brought down for the end of the program. So like I said, it's a packed program, and I'm going to make sure I squeeze everything in as much as I can. But this evening, exactly at 18 hours, we'll be having the one and only Olayomi Koiki bringing you Niger Voices, where we will have enough time or ample time to dive deeper into all the issues that is going on in Nigeria. But wherever you are, once again, I want to welcome you back. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So the quote for the day says, you have the power to determine how successful you want to become based on the actions you take today. How true is that? What actions are you taking today? What actions are you taking today? Because your actions and inactions determine what is going to be happening to you tomorrow. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 10:41 the time, the morning show, the program. I am yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is
the morning show with Archie.
Okay. Let's move on straight to the weather front, and let me bring you the travel updates as well. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Star Radio UK, Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, so when it comes to the weather front this morning, this is what is happening. For those of you us in London and the southeast of England, this is how the weather is going to be for you. We're going to be seeing this afternoon patchy cloud gradually building in. There will still be the sunny spells, but the odd light shower cannot be ruled out. Now this evening as well, we'll see any clouds and showers diminish early and then leaving a mainly clear night. Now towards dawn, some clouds will move in, but it will continue dry. Top temperature is going to be 19 degrees. The lowest is going to be 10 degrees. Falling level is going to be moderate. UV level moderate. Pollution low. Sunset 18:32 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 07:05 hours, and that brings us straight to the end of the weather forecast. Now let's go straight to the travels as well. Let me tell you what is happening on your travels this morning if you are in London, but you can share with us what is happening in wherever you are listening to us from, if it's out the UK. That's all on your travel this morning. Those of you who want to be using the major roads in London, well, 823, 8316, 84 has all got serious delays, so check before you leave. You can avoid them, do your best to do so. That aside, all the others are having a very good service there. On the underground this morning, the Circle District and Hammersmith line have all got minor delays, so check before you leave. That aside, all the others good service. London Overground, DLR and London Tramlink, good service there. The River Bus is running a very good service there, apart from the Woolwich Train that's got a reduced service. When it comes to the London Cable Car, as usual, good service there. And that brings us straight to the final segment of the travel update, and that is the National Rail. On the National Rail, I know today they are embarking on some strikes, so well, most of them have got special services, but let me tell you the ones that are running a good service, just a handful there. So Grand Central, Fellshour Trains, Lumo, Merseyrail, Transport for Wales, and West Midlands trains are running good service. So that aside, all the others, special services, so check before you leave. All right then. So that brings us to the end of the travel updates for you today. We'll take a quick break, we come back, and I bring you what is happening across the globe, i.e. Global Trotting. Stay tuned and don't you go away. The family, the Christian community, friends and loved ones of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku wishes to invite friends and loved ones and all sympathizers to a one-week observation at the Numa Christian Center, 87 Beddington Lane, Croydon, postcode CR040D. The event will take place on Friday, the 6th of October, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Buses 466 and 463 ply that route. And if you want to travel on a tram, Beddington Lane is a stop for you. Also, there's going to be free parking there. For further information, please contact Evelyn on 075 5483 8421, Kojo 073 7592 8737, or Sheila on 079 8358 1818. Come and mourn with us, even as we celebrate the lives of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku. God bless you and see you all there.
The Global Real Estate Wealth Summit with Dr. Olumide Emmanuel will be happening live in October in a city of the United Kingdom. It will be an event like none other. 1 day, 8 speakers, 10 sessions. Date, Saturday 14th October 2023. Register now to qualify for the 30% discount offer. Visit www.olumideemmanuel.org/GrewUK to register or call the hotlines 074-231-55486 or 020-322-30800.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Bringing the time now to 13 minutes to the top of the hour. As I said, because of the schedule today, we're going to be mashing everything in, and therefore just bear with us whilst I take you straight on to some of the stories making the rounds this morning. So where are we going to and what are we looking at? Now, when it comes to some of the stories making the rounds, in Nigeria, let me say good morning once again to Shamsuddin. He said, God bless Yoruba Nation, and that's Yoruba Nation is what he wants and what we want. And God bless me. Okay, God bless you as well. Okay, Tinubu credential, APC lampoons article, ex-VP set to submit documents in Supreme Court. Mobile police detain Naira for the mobile case. Police have detained Naira Marley and 2 killed as LASMA officials driver clash. There's a local government office raised as well. It's official. Chicago State University says Nigeria President Bola Tinubu presented forged certificates to INEC. Well, we'll be telling you more about that as we go on. Tinubu nominates Bala Rabi to replace El Rufai as minister. Blast at illegal oil refinery in Nigeria kills 37, including a pregnant woman. While I led APC NWC members to Buhari in Douala. And then Ondo Assembly asked CJ to constitute impeachment panel on deputy governor. 2 children critically injured, pregnant woman, tricyclist die in Lagos auto crash. Those are some of the stories making the round. And army probes allege poor feeding of troops. well, interesting one there. Now moving on straight to some other stories. Well, the Naira Marley, I beg you, the Naira Marley detention seems to be going on, covered by most media houses. Afrobeat star Naira Marley detained over singer Mohbad's death. Now Aziz Fashola, aka Naira Marley, has been taken into police custody for questioning, wrote Benjamin Hodiyin, a spokesperson for the Lagos State Police. Well, we're going to tell you more about that. And Tunisia opposition leader Abiy Morsi has been arrested. And Ethiopia, EU signs a 650 million euros cooperation agreement. And then in other stories as well, which will take me straight to where? To Ghana, but before then, Kenyan President William Ruto welcomes UN decision. But I'll be telling you on what. And supporters of President LCC celebrate his bid to go for another term in the office. Well, when it comes to Ghana as well, over 90% of Ghanaians' kidney failure patients who should receive dialysis are not getting it. What exactly is happening? Now, if it happens to be one of those who are in the ruling government or seriously in the hierarchies of the politics in the country, I bet you they'll be flying them out to receive that. But because our health sector is so deplorable, over 90% of Ghanaian kidney failure patients who should receive dialysis are not getting it. So what is happening? It's just a matter of time they will be dead. I don't know what or how they are living, but well, it's all coming your way. I'm going to bring you more details about that as well. Now please extend gratitude to all stakeholders for a peaceful demonstration. Well, the demonstration took place occupied the Bank of Ghana but I'll be telling you more about what happened there. And NLA board commiserates with former President John Ejekum Kufuor. He looks very old, and the fact that he's lost his wife as well. It's not going to be an easy thing, living together for all those number of years, and then the ups and downs, and then the person leaves you. Whoa, boy. Now, Ghana will process 60% of raw materials when I become president. That is what Alan is saying. That is his bid there. Elect president based on competence, integrity, says Alan. All right then. Was he there whilst the MBB were doing all sorts? But this all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. In Venice, tourist boats have plunged from bridge, killing 21 children are among the dead after their vehicle fell 15 meters from an overpass and caught fire. It's a very, very sad story there. A boat carrying 280 migrants land in Canary Island, and it's thought to be the largest number of people ever to arrive in the Spanish archipelago in one go. Now, Pakistan orders 1.7 million Afghan out of the country. The declaration comes just days after a blast in a border town killed at least 50 people. Who are the culprits? Who are the targets as well? Well, I'll be telling you more about that. And McCarthy ousted as House Speaker in historic vote. It's one serious story there. Kevin McCarthy has been toppled in a right-wing revolt, the first time ever that a U.S. House of Representatives Speaker has lost a no-confidence vote. The final tally was 216 to 210 to remove the congressman as leader of the Republican majority in the lower chamber of Congress. Hardliners in his party voted against him after he struck a deal with Senate Democrats to fund government agencies. Now, there is no clear successor to oversee the House Republican majority. Congress has just over 40 days to agree on a deal to avoid another potential government shutdown. And then Florida Republican Matt Gaetz, a Trump ally, filed a rarely used procedural tool known as motion to vacate on Monday night to oust Mr. McCarthy. Now, we'll be telling you more about that and what its implication is going to be for the whole of the U.S. if there is still that stalemate that is going on. As I did say, Naira Marley's arrest, custody issue seems to be going on in all international media there. A judge issues gag order on Trump in New York fraud case. I think it's about time. I think it's about time because it comes from the courthouse and that spewing all sorts. I mean, denigrating the judge and everything, and that, so the gag order, I think, is a good one there. He would say that you are trying to stop me from speaking. If he dare speak, let's see what happened. A soldier suffered relentless sexual harassment from boss. Jaisley Beck, 19, is thought to have taken her own life after harassment in the army. A report has seen. Boy, oh boy, heads will roll. This is the UK, and I tell you, heads are going to roll. HS2, West Midlands Manchester line to be scrapped. Rishi Sunak is expected to set out alternative projects in his Conservative Party conference speech. The question is, if the cost is ballooning and it's gotten to a point where it seems that, well, in this situation that we find ourselves in, things are tough and monies are scarce to come by, why don't we maybe look at other means of offering that transportation, a very good one there? And so maybe he'll tell you that that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, a woman thought she was going to die in a dog attack. A 24-year-old says she is upset. A clip of mauling has been viewed by thousands on social media. The more people saw it, the more angry they become. They were about that attack as well. The petrol rises for fourth month in a row. That's what the RAC is saying. The RAC claims drivers are being overcharged for petrol, but retailers say they have higher costs there as well. And the UK and Ireland now sole bidder for Euro 2028. The UK and the Republic of Ireland are now the only bidders for Euro 2028 after Turkey withdraws to focus on a joint bid with Italy for Euro 2032. Now it looks like there's cooperation. Nobody wants to take the ownership of a game. So let's see how it all pans out. But this is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. 10:56 the time. Starr Radio UK. Now, before we take a break, let me bring you some details of some of the stories making the rounds, because we'll not be having enough time to break it all down for you. Now, so let me touch on a couple of stories making the rounds in Ghana as well. The Ghana Police Service has expressed its gratitude to all stakeholders for their cooperation and support during the demonstration organized by the minority group in Parliament yesterday, the 3rd of October 2023. We wish to once again assure the public that the police remain committed to upholding our democratic values and will continue to work together with all stakeholders to ensure peace, security, law and order in our beloved country, the police assured in a statement dated the 3rd October 3. Well, it says the Ghana Police Service wishes to express gratitude. We wish to once again assure the public that the police remain committed to upholding our democratic values and will continue to work together with all stakeholders to ensure peace, security, law and order in our beloved country. Grace Ansa Akrofi, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Director, Public Affairs, has said there. Okay. So that is the outcome of the police policing that demonstration. But government wants to take advantage of our quietness and get away with murder. The executive director for Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Koiki, has said that the government wants to take advantage of the quietness of Ghanaians. Now, speaking this morning, Mr. Amoas stated that few people have squandered what could benefit the entire nation. We have become too timid as a people. We have become too quiet, and it looks like as though they want to take advantage of our quietness to get away with murder. It is inconceivable that as a country that an entire year our petroleum importation bill stood at 48 billion with all the taxes and everything we had done. You wake up and somebody says we have chopped over 60 billion, something that could have provided fuel for every Ghanaian from January to December without paying a peso. It is what a few people have collected and have chopped, Mr. Amwa stated. He continued, so we are here to ask the Bank of Ghana the same question our fellow Ghanaians are asking. We cannot understand the sort of rot going on. That is allowed to go on. Wherever they have taken the 60 billion, they should return the money. The hashtag Occupy Ghana, Bank of Ghana demonstration by the Ministry of Minority in Parliament to call out Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, over what they say is a wanton dissipation of the scarce financial resources at the bank. The demonstration is also intended to call out Dr. Ernest Addison and his lieutenants to vacate their posts after they allegedly supervised the loss of 60.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, Ghanaians from the regions have gathered in Accra for the protest, which is expected to end at the Ministry of Finance, which did yesterday. But it shows how now people are more awake than what we've seen in the past. So what can be done? When it comes to the laws or the rule of law, we don't see nothing. It's a democracy. And they use the same laws to outwit citizens. Well, back in the day, during the late President Jerry John Rawlings' time, during the Revolution, 1979, that time we were kids. I remember in secondary school, I think Form 1, thereabout. and they were saying, we don't go sit down, make them cheat we every day. They were shouting all that. I remember sketching. I was very good at drawing. You know, I sketched a very nice one of him in his beret standing by his armor car. I was good then, but I don't know where it all went. But when Ghanaians are waking up and saying that we don't go sit down, but where did that money go to? How come the Bank of Ghana lost an amount of 60.8 billion? Well, you want to know more? Then you have to know that the names of talkatives need to be written. Those who are susuponing our development and everything. So enjoy this whilst we wait for Mr. Olayomi Koiki to join in. It's Starr Radio UK, 11 o'clock the time, the morning show, the program. I am Archie.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
It's no secret people like to talk. The things they know and the ones they don't. Spread like rumors, just so you know. So why are you wasting your time like this? Hearing those things that hurt your heart. Give no attention, no words. Cause I don't talk, I don't ever help more.
Wow, names of talkatives will be written later on during the course of the program. But because we say it's a Wednesday edition of the morning show, the fourth position, we are pressed with time, and I have the singular honor of welcoming my co-presenter and my brother, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, all the way in our North London studios this morning. And let me say, Yomi, good morning to you.
Well, a very good morning to you back in the studio, Mr. Archie. I hope you can see me.
We can see you, but it looks like your image is frozen. But don't you worry, I'm going to do something about that.
Let's see if we can refresh the camera from here. Not too sure why. A very good morning to you back in the studio.
Yes, good.
Good morning to all our viewers and listeners from around the world, and welcome once again to the Wednesday edition of the morning show, the fourth day of the month of October, as we prepare again the beautiful week ahead that is just winding down very fast on us.
Okay. How are you? How is the family?
We're very grateful. We're good. The family is great.
Great. Wherever you are listening to us from, we hope that you are also doing very, very well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is the Tuesday edition of the the Wednesday edition of the morning show. That means that this evening, exactly at 18 hours or 6 p.m. Local time, we'll be going to be having Niger voices. But I have with me in the North London studios, Mr. Olayomi Koiki. I'm Archie, and we are bringing you all that you need to know when it comes to what is happening from Nigeria this morning. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Now, in your background, we know yesterday information came through that the Chicago University has released articles certificate. We talked about that briefly. Yes. So now the transcript, I don't know whether the transcript has also been given. However, Tinubu's credential APC lampooning article, and that's ex-right president set to submit documents in Supreme Court. Now he's got it. He wants to submit it into Supreme Court. If it's going to, help his case, fine. But if the APC think that, well, this is not going to play any major role in changing the decision that the appeal, what do you call it, the court that sat, the petition court that sat on it initially, based without that ruled that Atiku was still the winner, maybe this one is going to better his chances of maybe winning or whatever it is. So what is the beef all about?
Well, the beef is that they've been able to drag, the president of the most populous black nation into the mud. The question is, should Bola Tinubu resign his position for these great, damage to the country, for presenting a forged document? The question is that the Foreign Affairs Minister says, we don't have time for frivolous issues. Well, they might not have the time, but Atiku has much of those time, and that is why he has stick to trying as much as possible to get this certificate as quickly as possible. I mean, the whole, we're still waiting for further information, but from what we heard so far, there is this certificate that is in question that Bola Tinubu, the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, submitted to INEC. That certificate is a complete different from what the Chicago State University has released. So the latest information so far, before we go back again to what the Foreign Affairs Minister, says that, he argued that even the former President Muhammadu Buhari experienced a similar controversy over his academic problem. Whether this is going to make any changes, I've been asking the question, and that will be the question that we'll be putting out tonight at the Niger Voices at about 1800 hours. Would there be any changes with the new development of the Chicago State University in light of this controversy surrounding President Bola Tinubu's academic record? From the Chicago State University, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Toga, says the administration cannot waste time on such a trivial matters. But let's go back to what we know so far when it comes to what the the latest from the from the United States of America. There's another headline that says the Supreme Court, Netizen want President Bola Tinubu sacked, not just sacked, jailed over a forged Chicago State University. Those are some of the headlines. There's another headline that says Tinubu credential, APC lampoon Atiku as the ex-VP said to submit those documents at the Supreme Court. This is Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London, and I'm going to come back again to you in the studio. But this is generating one of the most biggest conversation in the history of Nigeria.
Anthony Adeneji, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us, as well as many of you who are on various platforms and the sister platforms listening to us. We salute each and every one of you, and we say don't touch the dial, continue to listen to us. Mr. Olayomi Koiki on North London Studios. I'm actually here in the South Studios. Now we're looking at the banter, the release of the president's educational credentials. Well, now looking at the courts. Okay, the compilation of the petition tribunal, we didn't see much there. And the day that the verdict was going to be given, and I was saying that why is Tinubu not in the country, unless of course he has a sneak view of what was going to happen. Because if you and I know that our position is on the line, that a verdict could overturn it or something, I don't think I'll be out of the country saying I'm doing business at all. No way. I'm going to be waiting to see what is going to happen. But he was so sure and was out of the country. Okay? But now that it's going to the Supreme Court, and with this evidence that's going to be tendered in by the PDP leader, do you think it is going to bring about any different thing? Or as a foreign secretary or foreign minister is saying, look, we've got better things to be thinking about, so this is nothing that we have to worry ourselves about. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know what the foreign affairs minister Yusuf Toga means by that this is a trivial matters. I mean, this is a national matters. As a president must be able to bring out the right requirements. I mean, it's just the same thing when you apply for a visa and you are finding there's the information to find out that part of your document was not genuine. This is where the question is that what does INEC says when it comes to these what we called results before you become the president? What does the Constitution says? The Supreme Court will have to look into whether Tinubu, made a mistake, or was it just a mistake that he should have avoided by not presenting that document or waiting for the right appropriate document. Let's take you through some of the reactions so far when it comes to this particular issue surrounding the president in the last 72 hours. There's been a lot of different individuals that are saying different things, but the question tonight, this afternoon, is: are you going to support this individual even though your result that you have already, your own personal result that you have used, to get the jobs, if the director find out that that particular job that you are being given with a large amount of 6 figure, that you do not have the right requirement, what are they going to do? Are they going to tell you to step aside? The question is, will this president step aside? Will he resign? Many questions are being asked. But whoever is going to wait for this answer has to wait until the Supreme Court, that Atiku has less than 24 hours to submit as much of the information that have just been received from the Chicago State University. So that is when we will find out what is going to be the next line of action.
Well, is the Supreme Court credible? Will they give a right verdict with the evidence that has been tendered in? And like Yomi was saying, now, if they say it's all right, like the foreign minister is saying that these are trivial issues that we don't need to worry ourselves about. Now, if you are in a job, okay, you listening to us, you are in a job, and then your boss finds out that, look, your certificate that you presented, it's all forged. It's not the true image of what it is. And do you think that they will allow you to be in that office, pay you whatever amount? I want to hear from you. So post your comments there. Let's hear from you.
And I've got, just coming into the wire right now. I know we're really very pressed of time, but later on tonight we will deal with so much. What I have right here now is just as this has been put out by David Odoye. Just got hold of the written copy of the yesterday deposition of the Chicago State, is in just as much as trouble as Pablo ECOWAS. Apart from confirm that the certificate submitted to INEC is forgery, they also confirm that they have no way of knowing that Bola Ahmed Tinubu or Bola A. Tinubu or Bola Ahmed Tinubu are in fact the same person. And I'm looking at what is being said there. This is question 14. I'm going back to June 27, 1979 diploma. That is attached to Exhibit 2. You didn't prepare this diploma? Answer, no. Do you know who prepared this diploma? Answer, no. And are you speculating that the diploma is in the files because it wasn't picked up? Correct. So why would Mr. Tinubu in Nigeria roll order a diploma and not ask that it be sent to him? That is on number 24. And then it goes on to say again, by Miss Liu, she wasn't the president of the university in 1979. Mr. Addison say, objection, ask and answer. The witness, she's correct, and that is correct. And she wasn't the president in 2022, correct. Also signed by Neva Lubin by the board of trustee, correct. Mr. Dr. Lubin was the board of trustee in 1979. Remember I told you that, Tinubu might not just be going through with this alone. There are individuals that are ready also to take him on board for including their details onto what we now know as the biggest fraud certificate of a president.
Wow. So you remember last week we were talking about the fact that they were saying a university, is it a nursing university or a nursing college in Ibadan, if I'm not
in Ibadan, yes.
Yeah, was issued. They
UK Center for Nursing.
Yeah.
We'll have to review all the 210 students that are their test here because of the fraud that took place at that particular test center.
It's not a good thing at all. I don't think it's a good thing. But, well, in Africa, somebody will say it's a minor issue. Let's forget about it. Let's move on. But if you look at the international reputation of Nigeria that is at stake, people will say, no, something has to be done about it. But wherever you are, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. 16 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's move on to some of the other stories making the rounds there. Mohbad, police has arrested Naira Marley, and if you go on all the international media, from the BBC to CNN to everywhere, they've all captured it because of Naira Marley's popularity. Now, how connected is it, and why has he been arrested? What has the police got?
Well, the news filtered out quickly, like you said, and this is a case that has a lot of interest. Remember that music has a huge interest, huge influence, when it comes to not just, especially with the Afrobeat that is literally, pulling out the strings across, the world. Yes, you're right. Naira Marley is now, in the Nigerian police custody. We hope that, it can be as just as saying Daiseni, Alison Madueke, came to the court and then questioned and then had a bail condition, which has now been his bail. But police have detained Naira Marley, like you said there, and I've seen Naira Marley's video as he was touching down at the Muritala Mohammed Airport. Remember that Sami Larry was also detained. I'm going to come back to Naira Marley. Let's quickly touch about Sam Larry. Sam Larry, from information coming to my desk, there's a lot of pressure to get him out of the police custody. The question is, would he be coming out anytime soon? We would have to wait, as his other colleagues that have been also. Remember, Naira Marley says, hope he will get what we call security if he has to return to Nigeria. I believe that we don't know what has happened between his legal team for him to have returned back to Nigeria to clear the air. And that's the picture of Naira Marley there. But what we can confirm now is the Lagos State confirmed that Tuesday night, they have now taken into custody the controversial singer known as Aziz Fashola, alias Naira Marley. Naira Marley was based here in the UK before he returned back to Nigeria. He had a lot of trouble with the police there. It's not new that he was also had a lot of problems. Up to 124 times, Naira Marley had what we called contact between the UK police and himself. He returned back to Nigeria. He's doing very well in music. He signed Mohbad last year, but it seems that things fall apart. And like they said, a lot of things have been said. I listened to the interview he granted, where he kept on saying he had nothing to do with the death of Mohbad. He had a lot of recordings that he had with Mohbad as Mohbad was trying to become a suicider. He actually said in that particular clip that I listened to, why would Mohbad go out there and put a wrong narrative that if anything happened to him, they should hold Naira Marley label? And Mohbad said, well, he was just doing what he has to do. But this has to be something that is going to take a long time to resolve, the reason why Mohbad died and who was behind it as well.
Well, we hope that, like what is happening in the US, where Tupac's killer, after 27 years, has now somehow been apprehended. We hope that the same thing happens. Whoever did it, if it's not Naira Marley, whoever might have had a hand in there, should be, brought to justice. Listen to Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 2 killed as last mile officials driver clash. What's happening there?
Well, the former Minister of Works and Housing, I'm sure you remember Fashola, the former governor as well, under the former President Muhammadu Buhari for 8 years. Well, he said we should stop using the word "may Nigeria not happen to us." Well, the question is, yes, we pray that even may UK not happen to us. Even we pray that may America not happen to us. May anywhere where we are not happen to us. But it depends on wherever you are, because if things happen, it is already a week today that we lost a very beautiful young girl in Croydon area. But I'm sure the country will be rallying around, the family, the system will be rallying out with this same family as well. just as we said before we go to that particular story, because I want to link this. On Sunday, the 1st of October, right by Gate Cambridge Road, North London, we lost another young man to stabbing. Less than 12 hours ago at Cole Abbott Lane in Brixton, a 22-year-old has been stabbed to death. These are crimes that are not meant to happen in the society, but the system will be there to make sure that these sort of crimes can be curbed, and also these sort of crimes, the families of those that have been affected will be taken care of. Now, let's go back to Lagos State. Will this family be taken care of, where 2 individuals were killed as LASMA? LASMA is just like one other body set up in Lagos State to control traffic and all that. But we have seen and heard so many times they have committed more crime to humanity. Yesterday, the LASMA official and driver clash. Local government office have now been raised down because of this. Angry youth on Tuesday raised the facility at the Isolo Local Council Development Area Office building in Okota, Lagos State, following the death of the 2 yet to be identified persons who were said to have died after a scuffle involving the officials of the Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, a policeman and a driver in the Agor Palace area of Isolo. The incident happened just about 9 o'clock yesterday, and yet to be identified driver allegedly tried to escape after a traffic infraction. Eyewitness said the LASMA official, aided by the policeman, chased the motorist, and the eyewitness gave his name as Usman, said the LASMA official that chased the driver, one of the law enforcement officers, was dragging the steering. This is known in Nigeria, dragging the steering with the driver, and because of that, the driver lost control, rammed into some passengers, and 4 people died for something that should not have occurred.
Well, it is quite worrying when we hear all that thing, sad things happening there. And when we say, may Nigeria not happen to you, they say we don't have to say that. Well, wherever you are, like Yomi said, may that not happen to you. But our law enforcement agencies, like this NSAS, that's what brought about the NSAS, because they were becoming unruly. Well, what happened there? It is all coming away from Star Radio UK. 11:23 the time. We'll allow Yomi to bring you the rest of the stories making the rounds. Over to you, sir.
Well, as we touch on 1 or 2, and later on at 1800 hours, we would have a lot to discuss. 23 oil blocks failed to produce crude, according to the federal government. No fewer than 23 oil blocks that are managed by international and local oil companies, which are under the crude oil production sharing contract with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, failed to produce crude or were inactive, according to the federal government. It disclosed this in the latest oil and gas industry report for 2021 released by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, an agency of the federal government. It stated that the blocks failed to produce crude oil in the year under review. We go back again and look at more of those headlines as Akwa Ibom PDP debunks the social media report of celebrating Tinubu's alleged certificate. Well, not a very good news again in Nigeria as the Niger State boat accident and the victims' names. The Niger State Emergency Management Agency today have now released the names and photos of some of the recovered bodies of the victims of the boat accident. The question is, we must continue to put in the measures and the safety when people are using this kind of, mode of transportation. According to the Nesima spokesperson Hussein Ibrahim, who spoke on the telephone, said one of them, Mona Ezekiel, was from Kebbi State, while Daudu Hassan Kasibu were all from Niger State. Ibrahim also disclosed that 2 more bodies have been recovered from the river to this morning, and they will make their names available as soon as they get the details. Well, what actually happened was the boat which was carrying passengers going from Kasubu village in Agwara local government area of Niger State to Yuru, Kebbi State, capsized due to the heavy rains and the wind on Monday. The question is, if the safety has been put and factored in, this individual's life will still be with us today. But again, may Nigeria not happen to us. Well, let's go into 17 independent power distributor get 10 licenses and 10 operational. Let's hope this will make more impact for electricity distribution network. According to the federal government, have now issued licenses to 17 independent electricity distribution network operator, among which 10 are currently operational, according to the government yesterday. This was disclosed in the 2022 Market Competition Report that was released yesterday by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, an agency of the federal government. We go back again and take you straight before to the social media, as one of those that died yesterday at that particular story in Isolo was a pregnant lady. Just as we lost, the lawyer in December through a happy trigger police officer as well. Well, new minimum wage may be negotiated to 100,000 or 200,000, according to the Nigerian Labour Congress. Remember that they've already pulled off what we call the strike, while they will have to wait for another 30 days before knowing what next. We would not go to ask for 65,000 naira. We go for a realistic amount, because 65,000 is just $70, which is not up to a minimum wage. This is coming from the Nigerian Labour Congress. Says the new minimum wage may be negotiated to 100 to 200,000, owing to the rise cost of living. While the union and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) had planned to go on strike yesterday, owing to the impact of what we call the fuel subsidy, they shelved it following a meeting with the government authorities in Abuja. The president and the team have actually said that we will add 35,000 naira, but that is only going to last for 6 months. What happened after 6 months? According to the president, NLC Joe Ajaro, the move was to give the government time to fulfill its part of the agreement reached with the organized labor, adding that 35,000 naira wage award part of the government offer is not the new minimum wage, which he said may be up to 200,000. So there's still a lot of work between the NLC and the federal government. Lots and lot of reaction coming from the case of Bola Tinubu forged certificate, and as many says, anyone that comes out in defense of this brazen criminality must be treated like a common criminal by all well-meaning Nigerians. Ruben Abati, Osita Okechukwu have all identified themselves this morning. Don't let them get away with attempt to gaslight us. Well, this individual says the aiding and abetting a crime, big offense, accomplice to certificate forger and drug lord is also coming there from some of those responding this morning. Well, this one says this Tinubu house of card is actually collapsing. So let's take more from what is happening and what is trending on the social media this morning. But the main topic and conversation that we're going to be talking about later on at 6 o'clock is, would this make any changes to the Supreme Court? I'm talking about the article bringing out what we call. Let's take to what Simon Ekpa says. Give her a shout out. She has the spirit of Susu. You can't intimidate her to succumb to your level, to your evil and terrorist government. And I believe she's talking about the current ambassador to Finland to Nigeria. Again, some of those are some of those trending this morning. It seems that Chicago State University is not going anywhere. Almost 126,000 this morning. There's another one that says the CSU, which stands for the Chicago State University, at 108,000. I'm not sure why chloroquine. I don't know whether you've used it before, Mr. Archie. Is one of those medication that you take in Nigeria. If you're having a bit of itch,
very
sometimes they could be, very, very bitter. You got it right. Shetima is trending. Naira Marley is trending. We've told you the reason why, and we pray that there will be justice for Mohbad and justice for every Nigerian across as well. Agop Palace, where the incident happened at the local government in Isolo, is also trending. We've given you the reason for that. Reno Mokere is trending, but as many sticks to the Chicago State University. So let's take off to one or two more of the what Nigerians are saying this morning. Once again, would Tinubu be sacked, jailed, over for Chicago State University? We will have to wait from the Supreme Court outcome. But this morning, so many conversation is still on the Chicago State University. I can't say how many we have to read out, but all I will say is that later on at 6 o'clock, we will have the ample time to discuss all that. Once again, this is Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Well, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, for you, bringing you the best in everything that you need to know when it comes to Nigeria. Well, the certificate issue is making lots of rounds. But if you want to know, this evening he says, we're going to be looking at that. Shami Adeyemi says, good morning, Mr. Koiki and Arch and the rest of the team. Yes, good morning. We hope you are doing very, very well. What is your take, Shami, about the certificate release? Do you think that is a minor issue? Let's forget about it. But if you, Shami, if you have applied for a job and then your boss is finding out later on that the certificate that you brought was a fake one, what would
you cooked your CV?
You cooked your CV. Yeah. would you want to still be in your job, or they will show you the door? What do you think? Should the president be shown the door? Someone will say, so far so good. He's been doing a good job. Look at all the structures that he's putting in place. Maybe he didn't have certificate, but he's got a brains. What about that? Well, lots more going to be coming your way, as Yomi said, exactly at 18 hours or 6 p.m. Local time. But Yomi, a quick one on this. Oil blocks failing to produce crude. What are we talking about there, Yomi?
Well, you wonder why they are not producing any crude oil, and but again, most of the oil blocks have been either given to friends, families, during the military time, and even up to some of the government. We're talking about 23 oil blocks failed to produce crude oil. What could be the reason why they failed? If the effort is successful, the company will be subject to pay. PSC is an arrangement or contract where contracted oil company undertakes to fund the operation to explore and develop and produce petroleum within the concession area under the oil prospecting license and for an agreed numbers of years. Could we say that there is no oil in that particular area, or is it just again the oil has been sucked out and we've been told we couldn't get anything out? Because I'm not too sure whether this information that we've just been given is really a confirmed one. But the account could be a Federal Inland Revenue says while proceeds from the sale of the profit oil are remitted directly to the federal government. Sometimes we know that these individuals that own these oil blocks try almost everything not to pay back to the Nigerian government. The total production from the PSC, which was about 242.96 million barrels, represent 42.9% of the total production of 516.13 million barrels. So you can tell that if the 23 are not producing, the rest are producing. The question is, are they returning the money back? Remember that the same crude oil is where 5 billion of Nigerian money during Abacha never returned back to the country.
Well, interesting. So they might be producing crude oil, but they decide, you know what? We tell them that we didn't produce anything, so we're not paying for nothing. We're not paying taxes. We're not paying anything, and they go scot-free. But what do you think? Let us meet this evening exactly at 18 hours when Mr. Olayomi Koiki will be bringing you Niger Voices. Yomi, before you go.
Well, tonight, should the president resign with this new development, or should the Supreme Court decide? The question is, if this was a normal society, civilized society, with this kind of exposition, resignation would have taken place. But will this happen in Africa, the most populous black nation? Join me tonight at 6 p.m. where we review every details of this new development of what we are now receiving. As Mr. Celeb Westberg says, the register of the Chicago State University says under oath that Mr. Tinubu's certificate dated June 22, 1979 and tendered to INEC on June 17, 2022 was not issued by the school or its administration. Could therefore be, administrator could therefore not be able to authenticate its source. The question is, who designed that certificate for the president today, as at the time it was tendered just last year, June 17. He had enough time to have received the proper certificate before June 17, but he failed to do so. I'm not sure whether a place called Oluwole in Lagos is still operating, But Oluwole operated for a very, very long time somewhere in Lagos Island for so much fraudulent documents. Star Radio UK, I'll come back to you now in the studio.
Thank you very much, Yomi. We'll catch up later. Right then. Listeners, so do you think that Tinubu should just fall on his sword? Well, because he was saying that, no, I don't want the transcript or my certificate to be released because it will be dangerous and destructive to my image and everything that he did say there. But it's been released now. Should he fall on his sword, as Yomi is asking? Let us come back to you this evening exactly at 18 hours. And don't touch the dial. Let's take this quick commercial break and I'll be with you. Stay tuned. A way to make money is genuine money. What about that?
Global Real Estate Wealth Summit with Dr. Olumide Emmanuel will be happening live in October in a city of the United Kingdom. It will be an event like none other. 1 day, 8 speakers, 10 sessions. Date, Saturday 14th October 2023. Register now to qualify for the 30% discount offer. Visit www.olumideemmanuel.org/GrewUK to register or call the hotlines 074-231-55486 or 020-322-30800.
The family, the Christian community, friends and loved ones of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku wishes to invite friends and loved ones and all sympathizers to a 1-week observation at the Numa Christian Center, 87 Beddington Lane, Croydon, postcode CR040D. The event will take place on Friday, the 6th of October, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Buses 466 and 463 ply that route. And if you want to travel on a tram, Beddington Lane is a stop for you. Also, there's going to be free parking there. For further information, please contact Evelyn on 075-5483-8421, Kojo 073-7592-8737, or Sheila on 079-8358-1818. Come and mourn with us, even as we celebrate the lives of the late Apostle Mark Nyaku and Mrs. Victoria Nyaku. God bless you and see you all there. Welcome back to the program Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. We are waiting for the speech of the Prime Minister that will be taking place pretty soon, monitoring from our Sky correspondents there. Yes, news alert, Rishi Sunak speech shortly. It's going to be coming shortly, so we'll pick on that. But before then, let me quickly just bring you some of the stories that we were looking at when it comes to other parts of the continent. And this time around, just bear with me. Since Sasu Ingweso plane sold at auction for 7.1 million euros. How? The Falcon 7X of the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, was sold on Tuesday at the auction for 7.1 million euros at the Grand Hotel de Bordeaux after being seized in June 2020 at the airport of the Gironde capital. This seizure by bailiffs during maintenance work is part of a long series of legal proceedings initiated for decades by the boss of the company's Commissimpex, a Lebanese businessman, against the state of Congo. The auction of this aircraft produced by Dassault Aviation was ordered by the Bordeaux Judicial Court in December 2022 and then confirmed in June 2023 by the Court of Appeal with an initial price set at 7 million euros. It was led by auctioneer Vincent Pester Debord and concluded in a few seconds with the first and only bidder. Remaining anonymous, he has 3 days to pay the balance of his purchase and will have to remove the livery of the aircraft currently in the colors of the Republic of Congo, indicted Mr. Pester Debord. That this sale should make it possible to compensate Commissimpex for unpaid public works. The boss of this company, Moshin Hojeji, a former close friend of President Sassou Nguesso, had won several contracts between 1983 and 1986, construction of a bridge or a village in particular. But in 1986, after the collapse of oil prices, the economic situation in the Republic of Congo deteriorated and only part of the work was completed. In 2000 and then 2013, the International Court of Arbitration in Paris twice ordered Congo to compensate Mr. Hojeji's company. Now, over the years, the sum claimed by the businessman has swelled from around 100 million euros when the dispute began in 1992 to around 1.7 billion euros today. Well, so they think that the best way forward is to auction Sassou Nguesso's jet. Let me put it that way. But it's not his jet. It's the jet of the state, right? Okay. Well, we hope that happens to all the countries where they are actually just issuing contracts, making all those, and then where they come and then they sort of abrogate contracts and stuff like that. We'll be looking more into all that as the days goes on. But as I did say, we are waiting for the Prime Minister to make his speech shortly. So I'm monitoring that. As and when I have it, I will bring that your way. But wherever you are, stay tuned and don't you go away. Starr Radio UK, like we did announce this evening exactly at 18 hours or 6 p.m. we'll be having the one and only Olayomi Koiki coming your way with the Niger voices. So make sure your dials are locked on Starr Radio UK when we have him on. All right then. So now let's move on quickly to some other stories making the rounds this morning. Well, I'm just looking at some pictures coming from the conservative conference that is taking place in Manchester, and the Veterans Minister John Mercer is making a statement there. But as I did say, we're waiting for the Prime Minister himself to join in to bring you his speech. Okay, so moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds. Yesterday, the Occupy Ghana demo took place. The police have sent is it an appreciating letter to them for the organized way the whole thing took place, that there weren't any excesses that would have warranted the anger or the blunt force of the police. So with all that has happened, they're calling for the head of the governor of the Bank of Ghana and his lieutenants to leave, and also they are looking into prosecuting them. But if you look at the case of Emefiele in Nigeria, where he is now under arrest, but the state is trying to prosecute him. DSS has him at the moment because of his failure or actions or inactions that might have caused the state to lose large sums of money. But this time around, when it comes to Ghana, we're talking about 60.8 billion Ghana cedis, which they're looking at it that, well, when it comes to what in a nutshell the whole country uses in what do you call it? In a year, the fuel bill comes to 58 billion. So 60.8. Where did that money go to? What did they use that money for? What was it meant for? What was it used for? That's the question there. It's quite an interesting one. But well, listeners, we'll be telling you more about that because we are monitoring events in Manchester where we're going to be having the Prime Minister hopping in a moment to bring you his speech. But at the moment, as I did say, we have the veteran minister, it's Mercer, who is on the podium at the moment making his speech there. So wherever you are, don't you go away. I promise to bring you the Prime Minister's speech. They were saying that it was supposed to take place at 11:40, but it's now 11:46. But yeah, we've got about another 14 minutes to see. Let's see whether we'll be able to touch on more stories from there. Now, interestingly, over 90% of Ghanaian kidney failure patients who should receive dialysis are not getting it. Why? This is according to a yet to be published study titled 50 Years of Hemodialysis in Ghana, Current Status, Utilization and Cost of Dialysis Services. This study, authored by Dr. Elliot Quarantine Tano and his dedicated team of caregivers, have unveiled statistics that expose the harsh reality of the situation. The report reveals alarming figures in Ghana. The overall dialysis prevalence is just 38.8 patients 38.8 patients per million population. To put it simply, only 38.8 out of every million Ghanaians are receiving dialysis treatment. Now, this prevalence rate falls far below not just the Africa average of 79 per million, but also the global average of 296 per million. In fact, Ghana's rate is even lower than the average for other low and middle income countries, which stand at 68 per million. Now, these numbers paint a bleak picture, indicating that many Ghanaian patients in dire need of dialysis are unable to access the critical treatment. The global estimates suggest that Ghana should have around 15,400 patients requiring dialysis. However, the current numbers of patients receiving dialysis is 1,195. This represents 7.8% of the estimated demand for this life-saving treatment. The rest, a staggering over 90%, are left grappling with a lack of access to the care they need to survive. Dialysis centers, though desperately needed, are grappling with limited capacity. The median number of patients per center is just 20. However, despite these constraints, most centers are operating at or even over maximum capacity to meet the overwhelming demand. The quality of dialysis care in Ghana is also under threat. A significant factor affecting quality is a limited nephrology workforce. Now, Ghana has only 0.44 nephrologists per million population, not even 1 to a million. 0.44, not even 0.5. 0.5. Now, well below the global average for low middle income countries, that is 1.6 per million. Why is it an area where people are not interested in working or studying? Is that what is going on there? But the shortage of nephrologists directly impacts the quality of care, with 57.5% of dialysis centers in Ghana lacking a resident or visiting nephrologist. Without specialized kidney care doctors, it is challenging to adequately monitor patients and provide appropriate treatment. But you know, they will say we are doing our very, very utmost best when it comes to health care. But there are people who need this, not getting it. How are they even surviving? I'm just thinking about it. Because these are toxins that need to be gotten out of the body by this dialysis. But if you're not getting it, that means those toxins are staying in, and it's just a matter of a time the person will be no more. Well, listeners, it's Star Radio UK. We're going to move on. We're going to move on quickly because the speculation is still coming through that Rishi Sunak is going to announce the scrapping of the HS2, which he's been trying to deny talking about it. But let's go straight to the US, where should I call it a pilot school has happened, or what do we call that? It is sort of a house speaker school has happened. So the story says that Kevin McCarthy has been toppled in a right-wing revolt. The first time ever that a U.S. House of Representatives Speaker has lost a no-confidence vote. The final tally was 216 to 210 to remove the congressman as leader of the Republican majority in the lower chamber of Congress. Hardliners in his party voted against him after he struck a deal with Senate Democrats to fund government agencies. There is no clear successor to oversee the House Republican majority. Now, Congress have just over 40 days to agree on a deal to avoid another potential government shutdown. Now, Florida Republican Matt Gaetz, Trump ally, filed a rarely used procedural tool known as motion to vacate on Monday night to oust Mr. McCarthy. Now, he accused the Speaker of making a secret deal with the White House, to continue funding for Ukraine amid negotiations to avert a partial government shutdown at the weekend. Mr. McCarthy denies it. At a private meeting of Republican politicians on Tuesday evening, after losing his job, Mr. McCarthy told colleagues he did not plan to run for Speaker again. He later took aim at his political nemesis, Mr. Gaetz, accusing him of attention seeking. You know, it was personal, Mr. McCarthy told a news conference. It had nothing to do with spending. He said fundraising emails sent by Mr. Gaetz amid the infighting were not becoming of a member of Congress. The hardliners who ousted him are not conservatives, Mr. McCarthy added. He only became Speaker in January after a grueling 15 rounds of voting in the chamber, as Mr. Gaetz and other right-wingers refused to support him. To win over those hardliners, Mr. McCarthy agreed to make it possible for a single member to put forward a motion to oust him, which is exactly what Mr. Gaetz ultimately did. Now, Mr. McCarthy was supported by 210 Republicans, but 8 voted against him in Tuesday's vote, joining all Democrats members. They were Mr. Gaetz, Ellie Crane, Andy Bex, Ken Beck, Tim Burchett, Bob Good, and Matt Rosendale and Nancy Massey. One vote against Mr. McCarthy that surprised many came from Miss Massey, a moderate Republican from South Carolina. She said afterwards, "I am looking for a speaker who will tell the truth to the American people, who will be honest and trustworthy with Congress, with both parties." Democrat House Leader Hakeem Jeffries had said in a letter to colleagues that he will not provide the votes needed to rescue Mr. McCarthy. Now, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, a left-wing Democrat from the northwestern U.S. state of Washington, said before the vote, let them wallow in their pigsty of incompetence. Now, despite Mr. McCarthy's recent efforts to help the government avoid a federal shutdown, Democrats said they viewed Mr. McCarthy as untrustworthy. But he was the same person who, well, they're saying that through his dealings with the government might have ended his tenure as Speaker. But what do you think about all that? It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I got another 4 minutes because I'm sure the Prime Minister was speaking at 12 instead of the time that they had earlier on scheduled. Now, Pakistan has ordered Afghan asylum seekers out of the country by November. The Pakistan government has ordered all unauthorized Afghan asylum seekers, an estimated 1.7 million, to leave the country by November. A spike in militant attacks along the two countries' border this year has escalated tensions. The Pakistan has blamed border crossing attacks on Afghanistan-based operatives, charges denied by Taliban regime. But it has fueled resentment in Islamabad, which on Tuesday announced a crackdown on illegal migrants. Now, last week, a blast at a mosque in Mastung city near the border with Afghanistan killed at least 50 people during a religious celebration. Pakistan's Interior Minister Sarfraz Bukti did not appear to directly reference that and another attack on Balochistan province when he announced the crackdown order on illegal Afghans on Tuesday. The right to seek refuge in foreign country is enshrined in an international law. Pakistan has taken in hundreds of thousands of Afghan refugees, particularly since the Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan in 2021. About 1.3 million Afghans are registered as refugees, while another 880,000 have received their legal status to remain, according to the UN. But another 1.7 million people are in the country illegally, claimed by Mr. Bhakti on Tuesday, an apparent reference to those who have not yet gained refugee status. He said those people would have to leave the country by the end of the month, whether voluntarily or through a forced deportation. Everybody wants to move people from their country. But the question is, these people who have fled Afghanistan because of the Taliban, what are they going to do now? What are they going to do now? This is all coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Don't you worry, I'm monitoring events and I will let you know the moment the Prime Minister is ready to speak. So don't even think of touching the dial at all. Starr Radio UK. A sad story and the end of life there. At least 21 people, including several children, have died after a bus crashed off a flyover near Venice and burst into flames, officials have said. The electric bus broke through a barrier and plunged almost 15 meters, that is 50 feet, near railway tracks in Messer, which is connected to Venice by a bridge. Now, 5 Ukrainians, 1 German and Italian driver were among the dead. City Prefect Michel Di Bari said. Now, Venice Mayor Luigi Bruganaro said a huge tragedy has taken place. An apocalyptic scene. There are no words, he said on social media. CCTV footage of the flyover from Tuesday night showed the vehicle driving past another bus before toppling off the carriageway. One rescuer spoke of a tragedy of young people, if not very young people, except for a few adults. Now, 3 children, including a baby, were among the dead. Emergency services said. Interior Minister Matthew Piatidozzi said that the toll could rise. 15 people are known to have been injured, 5 of them seriously. Venice officials said they include Ukrainians, Austrians, Spaniards, and other foreign tourists. Among the injured were 2 16-year-old and 2 young children. The local governor has said 2 German brothers aged 7 and 13 were being treated for broken bones in hospital in nearby Treviso. Their parents were killed in the accident and the boys were being given counseling. The bus carrying 39 people crashed at around 1945, that is 7:45 GMT on Tuesday. It had apparently been rented by a local company to pick up tourists from the historic center of Venice to campsite in the nearby Marghera district. To those who have died, may their souls rest in perfect peace, and to those who got hurt, we pray that they see a bit of relief. We wish them a speedy recovery there. It is all coming away from Starr Radio UK. Now, Home Secretary Zwala Breverman rhetoric is not comparable to that of Enoch Powell, Grant Shapps has said. The Defense Secretary defended his colleague claim that a hurricane of mass migration is coming to the UK, saying her point was correct. Her Conservative Conference speech has been compared by some to Mr. Powell's infamous anti-immigrant 1968 Rivers of Blood speech. Now, Enoch Powell, a Tory MP, was ejected from the shadow cabinet as a result. In her speech, Ms. Braverman said politicians have been too squeamish to take action on immigration. Now, the wind of change that carried my own parents across the globe in the 20th century was a mere gust compared to the hurricane that is coming. Well, but that saved you. And today, you have the legs to stand on, the education, the intellect, to stand on and make a statement like that. Good luck. Well, the former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn accused Ms. Braverman of sounding like Enoch Powell, while Andrew Buff, a Conservative member of the London Assembly, was escorted from the conference hall after protesting that she was transphobic and homophobic. Now, Green Party MP Caroline Lucas called it an utterly repulsive speech. UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk said, "Stoking fears, devaluing others, are dividing society, are the politics of distraction." Now, following the speech, Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch told a Spectator Conference event that the politicians should be careful about how immigration policies are discussed so that people aren't getting echoes of things that were less palatable. Now, fellow cabinet Michelle Donnellan later declined to repeat the rhetoric used by the Home Secretary, telling News Network that I would say it's a problem. My language is different to her language. Mr. Sharp said Ms. Braverman's speech was certainly no Enoch Powell situation. He pointed out that the Home Secretary's parents moved to the UK in the 1960s from Kenya and Mauritius. They were allowed it, right? She makes that the absolutely correct point. We've already seen a lot of movement. We could see a lot more. A hurricane, as she described it, of people moving. But the question that I've been asking is, what are the push factors and what are the pull factors? What are the foreign policies that this government's put in place? Now, back in the day when we had Muammar Gaddafi, back in the day when we had Saddam Hussein, did we see anything of the sort happening? The countries were doing well. Their people were staying in their own countries. But you went bombing. You went killing. Your foreign policies has caused some of these things to happen. And then deals that they go sign with most developing countries are deals that they are coming in to actually wreck your resources and then go scot-free. Look at what is happening in DR Congo. But well, she's got the foot to stand on. She's been able to get all the necessary education. And therefore, that is what she will say. Right? Right. Let me take you straight to Manchester, where the Prime Minister is on his feet making his speech. Thank you very much for joining us today. But remember, this evening, we'll be having Mr. Olayomi Koiki coming in. Stay tuned. Don't you go away. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's been me, Archie, saying bye-bye for now.
Of being able to meet your commitments and make good on your promises. And my parents are long retired now, but the Sunak pharmacy left me with a lasting respect for every small family business. This Conservative Party, the party of the grocer's daughter and the pharmacist's son, will always be the party of enterprise, the party of small business. I've been Prime Minister for almost a year now. We have done good things in that time. We've made progress on our 5 priorities: to halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists and to stop the boats. But today, I want to share with you my reflections on what I have seen and what I have learned doing this job. I have seen up close the quality of our armed forces and our intelligence services, truly the finest in the world. The debt of gratitude we owe them is why we are making this the best place to be a veteran. And I know we will deliver, because we have a Minister for Veteran Affairs sitting in Cabinet. Johnny served in Afghanistan. This is personal for him. He stood with his fellow soldiers in battle, and now he is ensuring that it is this Conservative government making our country fit for our heroes. We've backed our military with record investment. Working with Ben, a great defence secretary, we put the defence budget on a sustainable footing. And now Grant will ensure that our advanced AUKUS submarine alliance with Australia and the United States keeps the world safe for decades to come and creates jobs here at home. And through our leading role in NATO, we remain the bulwark of European security. All testament to this country's global reach and influence and our determination to take long-term decisions in the national interest. By contrast, just remember that not once, but twice, Labour tried to make a man Prime Minister who didn't believe in NATO, who would have surrendered our nuclear deterrent, and who blames Britain for every problem. Sir Keir Starmer might want us to forget about his repeated support for Jeremy Corbyn, but we never will. You can never trust Labour with our country's security. I'm proud to say we've also led the world in providing support to Ukraine. We were the first country to send Western battle tanks to Kyiv. Now more than 10 others have followed. We were the first country to send long-range weapons to Kyiv. Now France and the United States have followed. We were the first country to agree to train Ukrainian pilots. Now more than a dozen others have followed. I say this to our allies. If we give President Zelensky the tools, the Ukrainians will finish the job. Slava Ukraini! Doing this job, I meet and talk to inspirational men and women across our country. You see that our most potent strength, our most powerful resource, our greatest hope is our people. But what I've learned is that there is an undeniable sense that politics just doesn't work the way it should. The feeling that Westminster is a broken system, and the same goes for Holyrood, Cardiff Bay and Stormont. It isn't anger. It's an exhaustion with politics. In particular, politicians saying things and then nothing ever changing. And you know what? People are right. Politics doesn't work the way it should. We've had 30 years of a political system which incentivizes the easy decision, not the right one. 30 years of vested interests standing in the way of change. 30 years of rhetorical ambition which achieves little more than a short-term headline. And why? Because our political system is too focused on short-term advantage, not long-term success. Politicians spent more time campaigning for change than actually delivering it. It doesn't have to be this way. I won't be this way. Conference, our mission is to fundamentally change our country. Now, the Labour Party have set out their stall to do and say as little as possible and hopes no one notices. They want to take people's votes for granted and keep doing politics the same old way. It's a bet on people's apathy. It doesn't speak to any higher purpose or brighter future. It is about power for the sake of power It is, in short, everything that is wrong with our politics. So if this country is to change, then it can only be us who will deliver it. Because if we do not, our growth will be stunted. More places will be left behind, and ever more of our time will be spent debating the side issues and symptoms rather than the deeper, more structural challenges we face. We won't allow this to happen. So where a consensus is false, we will challenge it. Where a vested interest is placing itself above the needs of the people, we will stop it. And where common sense is under attack from an organized assault, we will defend it. Today, I will set out how we will achieve this, beginning with a set of long-term decisions to build a brighter future for our children and to fundamentally change our country. And conference, you can already see my approach in the course I charted on net zero. We Conservatives love our natural world. We are determined to be good stewards of it. In my own constituency, it is the beauty of the North York Moors and Swaledale and Wensleydale that makes the place home. We Conservatives also value frankness and consent. We believe that politicians have a duty to treat household budgets with respect and that change only endures if we bring people with us. As you could tell by the reaction to my decision to chart a new course to net zero, it was not the easiest argument to have. But when I looked at the reality of what people were being asked to do, the thousands of pounds people would need to pay, all of that disproportionately falling on the poorest in society, by the way, and all of it not actually necessary in those time frames to meet our net zero targets, and in spite of us doing more than any other country, I concluded it simply wasn't right. So I decided to take a pragmatic, proportionate, and realistic approach to reaching net zero. And I won't take any lectures from other countries that have done far less than us, or from those for whom spending thousands of pounds means nothing. Change is difficult, particularly for those who disagree. But remember this, we will still meet our international obligations. We will still meet our domestic targets, and we will still get to net zero by 2050. We have solved a problem and offered an unapologetic defense of good conservative common sense. So as much to the country, I make this promise to all of you in this hall. As I did last summer, I will tell it as it is. I will lead in a different way, because that is the only way to create the sort of change in our politics and in our country that we all desperately want to see. Now, I came into office in difficult circumstances, and I don't want to waste time debating the past, because what matters is the future. The facts are the facts. You can't borrow your way out of inflation. And if we want fundamental change in our country, we need a strong economy as a foundation. That is why halving inflation was the first and most important of the 5 priorities I set out at the start of the year. Everything we want to achieve requires getting inflation under control. Inflation is the biggest destroyer of all, of industry, of jobs, of savings, and of society. No policy which puts at risk the defeat of inflation, no matter its short-term attraction, can be right. Not my words, but those of Margaret Thatcher, as true now as they were then. I know you want tax cuts. I want them too, and we will deliver them. But the best tax cut we can give people right now is to halve inflation and ease the cost of living. And with inflation under control, our debt reduction will become easier. And as debt falls, confidence grows. And as confidence grows, so too will our economy. We need our economy to grow faster and for people across the country to feel the benefits of that. Like other Western economies, we haven't grown quickly enough in recent years. But don't let Labour and the others talk down our nation. We now know that we have had one of the fastest recoveries from the pandemic of any major economy in Europe. Since it, we've grown faster than France and Germany, not despite Brexit, because of Brexit. We have the largest life sciences, financial services, creative and tech sectors in all of Europe, and we have near record numbers of people with the security that a job provides. And if we want to keep growing, we have to create the conditions in which businesses can drive growth, and that's exactly what we're doing. We still have the lowest corporation tax rate in the G7, and thanks to the Chancellor's business tax cuts, we are the best place to invest in the machinery and equipment that your business needs to grow. Innovation drives growth in a modern economy, so we also have the most generous tax regime for research and development in the G7. And our Brexit freedoms make us ever more competitive. From financial services to clinical trials to agriculture, we are creating a more agile regulatory system, freeing up businesses to drive the growth our country needs. The fact we control our own trade policy now is why we can be the first European country to join the £11 trillion Pacific Trade Pact, linking us to the fastest growing region in the world and opening up new markets for our farmers and great British products. We have new free ports, from the Firth of Forth to the Solent, ensuring the benefits of trade and investment are spread across our country. And thank you, Kemi, for cutting away Brussels red tape and saving small businesses £1 billion a year. Brexit was more than a vote to leave the EU. It was a vote to change, to become something more. It was a statement of our belief that Britain could begin a new story, one which reached all parts of our country and everyone in it. We must keep making the case for taking back control, because if we don't, our opponents will try and neuter this change, to align us with the European Union so that we never seize the full opportunities of Brexit. And we know where Keir Starmer's heart lies on this issue, and we know he can't be trusted on it either. First, he said he'd respect the referendum result. Then, he wanted a second referendum. Then, he wanted free movement. Then, he didn't. He said he wouldn't try and renegotiate our deal. Then, he said he would. And then just 2 weeks ago, he was caught on camera telling a meeting of international politicians that he now just wants to follow all the EU rules. The irony isn't lost on me. While we're busy thinking about the future of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer's just banging on about Europe. You just cannot know what you're going to get with him. The only thing that is certain is that it won't be what he's promising you. But the worst thing about Sir Keir is that he just says whatever he thinks will benefit him the most. Doesn't matter whether he can deliver it. Doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter if he said the opposite just a few weeks or months ago. He is the walking definition of the 30-year political status quo I am here to end. That is why we have to beat him, and conference, that is why we will. Now, if we are to create change and drive growth across our country, then we must get our infrastructure right. A false consensus has taken root that all that matters are links between our big conurbations. This consensus said that our national economic regeneration should be driven by cities at the exclusion of everywhere else. It said that the most important connections those cities could have was to London and not anywhere else. And it said that the only links that mattered were north to south, not east to west. What we really need, though, is better transport connections in the north. A new network north that will join up our great towns and cities in the North and Midlands. I wanted to come here to Manchester today to say that this will be our priority, our focus, our project. HS2 is the ultimate example of the old consensus. The result is a project whose costs have more than doubled, which has been repeatedly delayed, and it is not scheduled to reach here in Manchester for almost 2 decades, and for which the economic case has massively been weakened with the changes to business travel post-COVID. I say to those who backed the project in the first place, the facts have changed, and the right thing to do when the facts change is to have the courage to change direction. And so, I am ending this long-running saga. I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project. And in its place, we will reinvest every single penny, £36 billion, in hundreds of new transport projects in the North and the Midlands across the country. This means £36 billion of investment in the projects that will make a real difference across our nation. As a result of the decision we are taking today, every region outside of London will receive the same or more government investment than they would have done under HS2, with quicker results. No government has ever developed a more ambitious scheme for northern transport than our new Network North. This is the right way to drive growth and spread opportunity across our country, to level up. With our new Network North, you will be able to get from Manchester to the new station in Bradford in 30 minutes, Sheffield in 42 minutes, and to Hull in 84 minutes on a fully electrified line. Don't worry, there's more. We'll protect the £12 billion to link up Manchester and Liverpool as planned, and we'll engage with local leaders on how best to deliver that scheme. We'll build the Midlands Rail Hub, connecting 50 different stations. We'll help Andy Street extend the West Midlands Metro. We'll build the Leeds Tram. We'll electrify the North Wales Main Line, upgrade the A1, the A2, the A5, the M6. We'll connect There is more. There's lots more. We'll connect our union with the A75, boosting links between Scotland and Northern Ireland. We will fund the Shipley Bypass, the Blythe Relief Road, and deliver 70 other road schemes. We will resurface roads across the country. We'll bring back the Don Valley Line. We will upgrade the Energy Coastline between Carlisle, Workington and Barrow. Build hundreds of other schemes, and Keep the £2 bus fare across the whole country. I challenge anyone to tell me with a straight face that all of that isn't what the North really needs. Our plan will drive far more growth and opportunity here in the North than a faster train to London ever would. As John Stevenson and Ben Houchen have long argued, East-West links are more important than North-South ones. Now, given how far along construction is, we will complete the line from Birmingham to Euston. And yes, HS2 trains will still run here to Manchester, and journey times will be cut between Manchester, Birmingham and London by 30 minutes. And I say this to Andy Street, a man I have huge admiration and respect for. I know we have different views on HS2, but I also know we can work together to ensure a faster, stronger spine, quicker trains, and more capacity between Birmingham and Manchester. The management of HS2 will no longer be responsible for the Euston site. There must be some accountability for the mistakes made, for the mismanagement of this project. We will instead create a new Euston development zone, building thousands of new homes for the next generation of homeowners, new business opportunities, and a station that delivers the capacity we need. And in doing so, for the first time in the life cycle of this project, we will have cut costs. The £6.5 billion of savings that Mark and I are making will be taken from the Euston site and given to the rest of the country. Now, the decision I have made and the stance I am taking will be attacked. They will say that halting it signals a lack of ambition. There will be people I respect, people in our own party, who will oppose it. But there is nothing ambitious about simply pouring more and more money into the wrong project. There is nothing long-term about ignoring your real infrastructure needs so that you can spend an ever larger amount on one grand project. They will say that we have already spent so much on it that it would be embarrassing to stop. That, though, would be an absurd reason to continue, an abdication of leadership. They will say that there is somehow a cross-party consensus on the project. As I have already said, that consensus is wrong. For too long, people in Westminster have invested in the transport they want, not the transport the rest of the country, particularly the North and the Midlands, wants and needs. And to those who disagree, who will focus on what I have stopped, I ask you to consider what we have just created with Network North. An alternative which, in place of one delayed and overrunning project, will now begin hundreds upon hundreds of new projects, large and small, road and rail, bus and train, covering the whole country, that will be delivered faster, that will see every region receiving more investment than they would have done. You can't have both. So those who wish to disagree with me, I respect that. But they should have the honesty to admit that they would now be cancelling the hundreds of alternative projects right across the country that people will benefit from instead. Conference, I think our plan is simply a better long-term investment of £36 billion of taxpayers' money. Now, we need to bring this willingness to make the right decision, not the easy one, to every aspect of our national life. The NHS is important to us all. It is the birthright of every person in this country. It was the NHS and social care staff who worked night and day to get us through the pandemic. Now, our commitment to the principle of an NHS free at the point of use is immovable. And this Conservative government is putting record resources into our NHS and social care too. But we Conservatives know that you don't measure your affection for the NHS just by how much money you put in, but how you reform it for the challenges ahead. I know that right now waiting lists are patients' most pressing concern. Just as in Scotland and Wales, they have risen because of the pandemic. And now strikes have led to more than 1 million cancelled appointments. Now, this is a reasonable government. We have negotiated and reached pay deals with over 1 million NHS workers, including nurses and hospital porters. We have met the recommendations of the independent pay review bodies for junior doctors and consultants in full. We have cut their taxes on their pensions as they requested. But they continue to demand massive, unaffordable pay rises, and that they have chosen to walk out this week says it all. This strike is all about politics, not patience. These strikes are not in the spirit of the NHS. This year we celebrate its 75 years of service, and one of my abiding aims as your Prime Minister is to set the NHS up for the next 75. True believers in the promise of the NHS wanted to reflect the world we live in today. That means a higher quality service that offers you, the patient, more choice, allowing you to use any provider, independent or NHS, free of charge if that will get you treated quicker. A common sense reform that this Conservative government has made. Now next, Steve and I want to give the NHS the staff it needs. For decades, we've not trained enough doctors and nurses. The result? The NHS either hiring staff from abroad or paying temporary agency workers huge fees. And we are ending that with the first ever long-term workforce plan for our health service. Let me repeat that. The first ever long-term workforce plan. It says everything about the short-termism of our politics, that for the last 75 years, not a single government has planned for how many doctors and nurses the NHS will need in the decades ahead. Our plan doubles the number of students training to be doctors and nurses, but it is also a reform plan for the NHS, with new ways of training and new roles, new ways of working, all driving up productivity. Now, I know vested interests will oppose some of these measures, but we Conservatives must do the right thing and make the changes that will enable the NHS to work as productively as the best healthcare systems anywhere in the world. And this is what a long-term decision really is. Given it takes up to 15 years to train a consultant, there's no politics in this investment. It's not about credit. It's about our kids and their kids. They'll get a much better and stronger NHS. And that's why we're here. That's why we Conservatives do what we do, up and down the country, from Whitehall to Town Hall. We're building a better future for the next generation. But to ease the more fundamental burden of demand on the NHS, we need more preventative care to stop people having to go to hospital in the first place. We must tackle the single biggest, entirely preventable cause of ill health, disability and death, and that is smoking. In our country, smoking causes 1 in 4 cancer deaths. It kills 64,000 people a year and leads to almost one hospital admission every minute. It significantly increases the risks of strokes, heart disease, dementia and stillbirth. Now, we've made great progress in tackling smoking. The number of people smoking is down by 2/3 since the 1970s. But if we are to do the right thing for our kids, we must try and stop teenagers taking up cigarettes in the first place. Because without a significant change, thousands of children will start smoking in the coming years and have their lives cut short as a result. People take up cigarettes when they're young. 4 in 5 smokers have started by the time they're 20. Later, the vast majority try to quit, but many fail because they're addicted and they wish they had never taken up the habit in the first place. Now, if we could break that cycle, if we could stop the start, then we would be on our way to ending the biggest cause of preventable death and disease in our country. So I propose that in future, we raise the smoking age by 1 year every year. That means a 14-year-old That means a 14-year-old today will never legally be sold a cigarette, and that they and their generation can grow up smoke-free. Now, we know this works. When we raised the smoking age to 18, smoking prevalence dropped by 30% in that age group. When the United States raised the age to 21, the smoking rate dropped by 39% in that age group. Smoking places huge pressures on the NHS and costs our country £17 billion a year. We have a chance to cut cancer deaths by a quarter, significantly ease those pressures and protect our children, and we should take it. This is not a values judgment on people who smoke. I don't believe it would be fair to take away the rights of anyone to smoke who currently does so. And the vote on this in Parliament will be a free vote, as the bar on smoking in public places was, and raising the smoking age to 18 was. There will be no government whip. It is a matter of conscience. And I want you all, and the country, to know where mine is. For a Conservative, measures that restrict choice are never easy. I know not everyone in this hall will agree with me on this, but I've spent a long time weighing up this decision. Simply put, unlike all other legal products, there is no safe level of smoking. And what has ultimately swayed me is that none of us, not even those who smoke, want our children to grow up to be smokers. And this change can make that a reality. It will save more lives than any other decision we could take. And as any parent or teacher knows, one of the most worrying trends right now is the rise in vaping amongst children. 1 in 5 children have used vapes. We must act before it becomes endemic. So we will also bring forward measures to restrict the availability of vapes to our children, looking at flavours, packaging, displays and disposable vapes. Now, as Prime Minister, I have an obligation to do what I think is the right thing for our country in the long term. And as Conservatives, we have never shirked that responsibility. We have always been at the front of society, leading it. And when we have the tools at our disposal to deal with the biggest cause of preventable illness and death in our country, to cut cancer deaths by a quarter, to significantly reduce long-term pressure on our NHS, and to do for our children what we all in our heart of hearts know is right, we must act, we must lead. Conference, we must put the next generation first, and that is what I will do. But all the boldness in the world will only mean so much if we can't similarly deal with matters of fundamental sovereignty, safety, and control. I'm talking, of course, about illegal immigration. It is non-negotiable that you, the British people, decide who comes here and not criminal gangs. Those gangs ply a trade that leads to innocent people dying. We have a moral duty to defeat this evil, and we will. Now, I've never pretended that stopping the boats will be easy. At the time I committed the government to delivering that goal, the consensus was simple. There was nothing we could do about it. They pointed to 4 years of growing crossings and said, impossible. Well, conference, they were wrong. It is not impossible, and we are proving it. Small boat crossings are, for the first time since the phenomenon began, down 20% this year. All while entry into Europe is up. We are by no means where we want to be, but don't let anyone tell you we aren't making progress. We are, and we will get there. Our new law will ensure that if you come here illegally, you will be detained and swiftly removed. Now, I am confident that once flights start going regularly to Rwanda, the boats will stop coming. Just look at how our returns agreement with Albania has seen the numbers coming from there fall by 90%. I am confident that our approach complies with our international obligations. But know this, I will do whatever is necessary to stop the boats. Now, by contrast, Labour's plan is to cook up some deal with the EU, which could see us accepting around 100,000 of Europe's asylum seekers. If your answer to illegal migration is to increase it, you clearly just don't get it, and that is why we have to stop them. And that's because on this and on so many other issues, Labour simply don't share our and the country's values. My values are simple: service, family, work. I was brought up to understand the value of work. Work gives you security. Work gives you purpose. When the pandemic hit, we were faced with the prospect of 12 million people losing that security, that purpose, overnight. And once you're out of work, it can be hard to get back in. I wasn't prepared to cast 12 million people into that darkness. I'm proud that furlough not only prevented this, but helped ensure our economy recovered more strongly from the pandemic than France, Germany, and Japan. Never forget the scale of what we did for so many. In 6 weeks, we did something that had never been done before, from scratch. I was told it wasn't possible, that it wouldn't work, but I got it done. Furlough was compassionate conservatism in action. If furlough was one thing that helped us get through COVID, then Ian Duncan Smith's welfare reforms were another. The old system could not have coped with the pressure in the way that his universal credit did. But we have more to do. We must end the national scandal where our benefit system declares that more than 2 million people of working age are incapable of actually doing any. That's not conservative. That's not compassionate. That must change. In 2011, 1 in 5 of those doing a work capability assessment were deemed unfit to work. But the latest figure now stands at 65%. Are people 3 times sicker today than they were a decade ago? No, of course not. It's not good for our economy. It's not fair on taxpayers who have to pick up the bill. And it's a tragedy for those 2 million people being written off. I refuse to accept this, and that is why we are going to change the rules so that those who can work do work.